Welcome to Victims of the Punt, powered by puntingform.com.au, Australia's best horse racing database, made possible by themailbag.com.au. Late mail, accountable betting advice delivered via our app. Head to themailbag.com.au and bet with us. Up first, we've got Chris Waller, then the boys preview the Randwick card. Enjoy. G'day and welcome to the Mailbag. This week, Chris Waller joins us. Chris, how are you?
Very well. Yeah, great to be on the Mailbag.
Thank you very much for giving us some time, mate. We're going to kick off with a soft question. What's your favourite sort of comfort food? So like a food that just makes you feel a little bit safe. For me, it's a McChicken from Macca's. It just settles me.
I'm partial to a bit of KFC.
Oh, good man. The Colonel.
Yeah. I've celebrated Group 1 wins with KFC. So I'm pretty normal, I can tell you that, and you'll get to learn that pretty quickly at the end of this interview.
Is that after you've been sober or hungover?
I'm normally pretty sober, Mark.
Okay.
Sensible driver, of course. By the time I get home from the races, I'm just about falling asleep. So, yeah, 1 or 2 glasses of Rob's wine, and then I'm history.
Mark, Chris, just a more serious question. Do you think the change of tactics rule and the official speed maps helps or hinders participants?
It helps me, but because before the change of tactics rules, I used to get criticised a lot. Monday's paper, if one of the stablemates got beaten and the outsider won, which can often happen, or a stablemate led and the horse from the stable as a backmarker won, created big problems. And I could see it was heading in the wrong direction. So it was probably a good thing for me. I applaud it. I realise it's tying jockeys down and they can't make decisions. So your Jimmy Cassidy's, your Shane guys, even the Blake Shins and some degrees, I guess all of them, like to make a decision and not be criticised too much. But the world's changed. So I guess it's a bit like starting on a grid. Basically where your barrier draws are is where you're pretty much set. If you've got a front runner, obviously you go forward. But if you've got a horse like my stable where they're normally looking for cover, ridden a touch conservative, the barrier draw pretty much gives up how we ride our horses. So if they draw 7, they probably settle 6th or 7th. If they draw 9, they probably settle 8th or 9th. I'm not partial, or I don't mind a horse being 3 wide, but in a bigger field. I wouldn't be 3 wide in an 8-horse field, but if you've got a field of, say, 10 or more, 3 wide, 6th, 7th, no problem at all. It's probably an advantage. So probably got off track a bit, but I'm not against the change of tactics. I think it's pretty good to be transparent in this day and age, but it will tie down some punters that have a better idea than others. So it probably helps the people that need help.
Are you doing your own speed maps, Chris, or are you getting someone else to do them, or are you using the Racing New South Wales ones?
I didn't use the Racing New South Wales ones until about 4 or 5 months ago. My man was getting a bit late to me, so I had to have another option ready to go. But I do have someone do it, and he's a pretty reserved and quiet person, so he doesn't like too much recognition, but he's very accurate. I find the Racing New South Wales ones are pretty good. I don't want to get into any controversies there, but I thought Lee Dalton did a fantastic job. He sits left, and I understand there's new people doing it, and I'm sure they'll pick it up pretty quickly. So we'll use that as a guide. I'll try and run the 2, mine and theirs. But we try not to make too many surprises. I think it's more certain stables they lead. Other stables are a bit more conservative, and I guess there's a few that sort of probably don't have the confidence to make decisions. So I think I'm sure you guys as punters work it out pretty quickly. Simple as that.
can I just bring up one that I backed on my own, maybe my new Yulong Prince, the Hong Kong horse you had in the last, the Lena's Hero. It's jumped well, it's trialled well, they've gone forward in the trial, and then it's ended up going back after jumping well. Nash being a senior rider.
Yeah, I think Nash rode. I gave the instructions to Nash but basically, I think we said we'd be trying to find a little bit of cover because we thought in his trial he might have led by default, and Huey Bowman rode him in the trial, and he sort of got stuck there, and he got further in front. It was a long day in the trial, so I guess what you're questioning is the difference in tactics and trials to races. So, good question. And I know Nash had ridden the horse from Hong Kong, and I think he might have had a preconceived idea that the horse needed a bit of cover too. So, distance we thought was a bit short. So there's so many variables that you probably miss out from how a trainer or a jockey might think. And I think bringing them together, the trainer, the punter, the jockeys, and getting our opinions is probably an important thing.
100%.
Chris, this is a betting focused show, so we better ask a betting question. Can you remember over your career a particularly big crack you had at one personally, one of your runners, and how did it go?
I honestly can't, and I'll tell you the reason why.
Yeah.
When I first started in Sydney, I was broke, and basically any spare dollar I had was probably not mine. So it was just I ran the business week to week, and I was paying staff as the money came in, paying bills as it came in, and I couldn't afford to lose anything. So I came across
the mailbag.
Yeah. I've had bets along the years. I can't remember the last ones. I used to have a bet in Hong Kong, like on the Sunday races, when I was sitting at home and things like that. But to me, every one of my horses is a bet. I get extremely disappointed when they get beaten. I don't ever say, "Oh, gee, that was a $2 favourite and the punters did the money there." I feel it, and I hold my hand on my heart saying that. I get pissed off when they're not ridden right. I get disappointed when they don't run right. I get disappointed in myself when I might have worked a horse too hard or put it in the wrong race or run it when I know it just couldn't win. So I think that's something the punter probably needs to understand, and most trainers, we feel it. And regardless of sizes of bets, if I had $1,000 on a horse and it got beat, I'd be filthy. And it would affect the way I train the horse next week. I would probably overwork it. Or if I knew that I was having a big bet on a horse a week before, I'm sure I would change the way I train it. Whereas now I'm probably a little bit more cautious. I'd rather have them a little bit underdone because I think less is more. Yeah. And I think as a punter, you would change the way you train pretty quickly.
Just along the lines of like starting out, like coming to Sydney and struggling, like everyone watching the show, myself included, like you struggle with self-doubt from time to time. Was there a point, or has there been a point or an amount of prize money when that just sort of like left? And what did that feel like for the rest of us?
I guess, I always had a lot of doubt, and I've got a massive fear of failure. And I think that probably drives me a bit too hard from time to time. Triple Honour winning a Group 1 race was a big kick along for me because I learnt that I could make it in the big time. It didn't matter as much as how I trained. And like most punters, I used to think, oh, what's that trainer using? What's he doing? What's so different from him to me? But I actually learned with Triple Honour, it didn't matter what was happening. The horse needs to be good enough. And he ran second to Weekend Hustler, beating the nose. Probably one of Mark's great calls. I thought we won the race. I was just gutted. That would have been our first Group 1 when Weekend Hustler was $1.40. We almost beat it. I think Nash was on Triple Honour. And I drove home that night and was so deflated. But I actually thought, well, no, I shouldn't be deflated because I've got a horse that's actually good enough to be running in those races. And sure enough, 4 or 5 weeks later, he came out and won the Doncaster. So that was probably the point that I didn't doubt myself as much, and I started to back my gut instinct. And I think, like punters, once you start going with that gut instinct and you get on a bit of a roll and you start to relax with a few things, you tend to make the right decisions more often than not. So I think that stopped the self-doubting to some degree. And that's why you'll see a lot of the times I do follow patterns. Winks ran in the same races every year. Nature Strip's running in the Challenge Stakes on Saturday. Why? He won it last year. It was a good springboard through to the TJ. Like, we'll run horses in the Far Lap Stakes, like Winks won, and we've won it 5 or 6 years in a row because it's a good springboard to other races. We've won 8 or 9 Chipping Nortons because it works. We've had good success in Doncaster because I know what to follow to get there, and so on. So you follow your traditions. The beauty of Sydney racing and Australian racing, we're racing 52 weeks a year as well too. So I'm not like a footy player who has an off season, or even trainers overseas. It's full on 52 weeks a year, and whether it be the Everest or Golden Slipper Day, we put a lot into every Saturday racing because it's a big deal in Sydney. Probably the crowds aspect isn't the same as it used to be, and you guys would all know what it was like 20, 30 years ago. Saturday racing was a big deal. It still is from wagering, but as we see it as trainers, it's important to get your horses right, and we're making the same decisions every week.
I'd imagine one of the bigger challenges you've faced, like with the growth of your business, like as a horseman, you've got ability, you're a horseman, but growing a business like to the gigantic size that it would be now, has that been an enormously difficult task and like probably one of the more challenging things you've done?
Yeah, it has, and it just takes a lot of time. So we haven't changed anything with our system. We've run it on a multiple of 20, and those that have shown interest in me in the past will hear the same old story. We have one 4-person in charge of 20 horses at Rosehill. We've got obviously 7 4-persons because we've got 140 horses. Warwick Farm, we've got 1 because we've got 23 horses there. Melbourne, we've got 2 because we've got Cape, space for 40. And basically the Gold Coast, we've got 2 as well. So we've split it into 20. That making those people be in control and giving them a sense of ownership of those horses. That's a big thing. That's helping with the everyday running of the stable. I still set their programs. I still set their work. And as I said before, it takes a lot of time. But I think, as the old saying goes, one man can train 100 or 240, I think we get up to at certain stages over all the stables, and 2 people can't train 1. So there's certain aspects that you've got to stay on top of. It takes a lot of time, and that's why you'll see me in front of a computer more often than not. But it seems to work.
Well, how are you monitoring their track work in the morning, Chris? Is someone clocking them for you? Are you clocking them yourself?
We have a person, or at Rosehill, which is our main base, we have a person clocking them on a Tuesday and Saturday. There'll be backups for them. So there'll be 3 people clocking, and they're my main staff. They'll call me at the 400-metre mark, say Nature Strips at the 500, Subpoena's at the 500. They let me know when it's the 500, because as long as they're running to a certain time and not going over quick or not going too slow, that's all I need to know. And for my own sense of sort of staying with things, I'll watch them the last 400 metres. So, it's sort of a pretty well-regimented system. Gold Coast, they'll send us a completed worksheet every morning, 6 days a week, Monday to Saturday. Warwick Farm, exactly the same. Clinton, exactly the same. And it all gets recorded. Just simple comments, like I've got it in front of me now. Some of them good. Humidor from Tuesday morning when he works was very, very happy, relaxed beautifully. I'm looking at Star of the Seas. This was his last gallop. felt stronger behind, more supple, he's ready to go. So we're getting those types of comments, as well as the bad ones. The bad ones get highlighted.
Can we get some of them?
Yeah, I just about read one out. Matchmaker relaxed well, but was holding her breath. So we put a tongue tie on it. And she trialled with a tongue tie on this morning and trialled beautifully. So just little things like that. And any problems get highlighted. The vets will go over that and things like that. It's pretty simple, but sticking to the system and making sure it's consistent is the key.
Now, what about, there's been some talk about changing the times of track work, where a lot of horses, of course, are worked in the dark and very early. So you've been pushing this a little bit lately?
Yeah, we have. Mark, I just think people get a bit tired. I, for one, get a bit grumpy. I go to bed before my kids. We don't get to see the horses work in daylight. We get to see these dark figures working from a distance under spotlights. Is that a good thing? There's just so many little negatives, and there's certain people that argue against the fact. So until we all sit down and say, come on, let's get this sorted, let's all work out towards positives, I don't think there'll be a sudden change. The biggest impact at the moment, though, is a labour shortage, and there's still a relatively high unemployment rate in Australia. I would hate it to get any lower because it'll make it even harder for us. So we just don't get the kids, well, I shouldn't say kids, teenagers from school. You've got to be 16, I think, to work in the stables. We just don't get the local schools saying, oh, we'd like to work in the stables on the holidays or the weekends, and it's a bit of a problem. So that and it's no good because I can afford to get better staff, and unfortunately I have to pass it on to the owners. So my training fees go up. But the smaller trainer, they're the ones that are going to struggle because they're not going to have the same staff that we get.
Yeah.
And likewise, it's a snowball effect. And occupational health and safety, it's only a matter of time where these other problems start to creep in. And do we make it more interactive for owners? Make it interactive for punters to actually come to track work. We are giving them as much information as we can, but at what stage will people start coming back to have breakfast at the track and make it an actual place where you just don't have to turn up on race day to get something out of racing? You pay a membership, you should be able to turn up at Rosehill or Randwick 7 days a week if you want and see a horse going around and know what that horse is going on to the track.
Do you think that the punter as a whole needs some type of representation, like in a body to represent them and be part of the discussion with the breeders, the trainers, the jockeys, the owners, for the betterment of the industry, to strengthen the industry, to strengthen the funding and longevity of it?
I guess they're the people funding racing, especially the way the models are at the moment. You go to Warwick Farm on a Wednesday, there's no one there, so the punters are driving the turnover, and the turnover is obviously what's funding the sport. So, I'm surprised they don't, and obviously I'm not in the administration side of things, but breaking down the barriers is the key. There should be no animosity and no negativity in terms of barriers between punters, trainers, jockeys. We all can train badly. We can all ride horses badly. We can all punt badly. But
100%.
To get everybody's aspect on the same page, I think it would be pretty healthy, and find out why Nash did that, or Huey did that, or James did that, and what's their actual view on a horse. And just between the jockey and the trainer, like going back to last week with we had Very Elegant and Colding, and just getting the aspect of the jockey, like Hugh said, look, Colding ran well. He ran up to the best he could. He ran super. Like he said, I was so proud of him. But I thought the reason he got beat was because he got left in front and the others sort of had the drop on them. But the jockeys can see it completely different to a trainer, and obviously trainers see it different to punters and things like that. So, breaking down the barriers is good. And for sure, like I shouldn't say it, but Warwick Farm again yesterday. Poor old punter probably needs an upgrade of facilities at Warwick Farm.
The food and drink on course is I'm down in Victoria, but it's not a reason to go to the track, and it's not cheap.
Yeah, well, it should be free, and it should be well worth eating and drinking, shouldn't it? So you go to the clubs around the world, and the casinos obviously are the benchmark. They certainly look after people and give them rewards, but that's probably out of my depth. But I'm sure to make some like a Qantas Club type scenario for each level, I guess, of punter or each level of owner. You got to look after your participants, and I'm sure they think they are, but I'm sure there's room for improvement. And maybe we're spoilt. Maybe we're spoilt with prize money in Australia.
Look, I'm sure we've kept you longer than we should have. Have you got a best bet this weekend for the punters outside the obvious? September runs a certainty, so keep that to yourself.
I better not give you my value shot then. That was actually going to be Imaging in the same race. It'd be interesting to see how he runs up the straight. We pretty much follow what the prices are set. I think you guys are a better judge than we are. Gone are the days where there's smokies, certainly from my stable. Look, a horse like Madame Rouge.
Oh, I was going to say Madame Rouge. I was on her first up. Look forward.
Stay calm, Rob. Stay
Yeah.
calm.
Her first up run on a softy, heavy track was brilliant. She's trained on well since. I'd say 1,300 is a perfect distance. She loves a good track. She's drawn perfectly. But she needs a couple to fail, like Bivouac. He looks a pretty good thing. There's a couple of others in there as well, like Savatiano and those that are obviously going to be very hard to beat. But maybe it's her chance to go to a new level and perhaps win a Group 1 race.
Beautiful. Thank you very much, mate. Really, really appreciate your time.
Absolute pleasure. Anytime.
Thanks, Chris.
That was Chris Waller. This is now Victims of the Punt. Mark Sheen, Mark Roden, Rob Scurry, and myself will take you through races 2 at Koch and Soda, races 2,
3, 5, 7, and 8.
Boys, we're going to kick off in race 2, 1,200 metres, the Todman, Group 2, 2-year-olds. The boys, Colton Geldings, Mark Sheen. What are we doing here? Is this thing just a hype horse, or is it a pretty good horse, is Profiteer?
Profiteer, look, I personally prefer Stay Inside myself. I know he's drawn a bit of pooey out there in gate number 8. Rocket Tiger's already scratched it, and Mark has accepted for the Black Opal, so we won't know until race morning, I'd say, where they decide to go. Solar Winds also accepting in the Black Opal. Look, hasn't drawn great Stay Inside, but I've been a little bit more impressed with him personally than Profiteer. I don't think Profiteer beat much. Got a little bit tired late. He probably entitled to earn pretty fast, but I think if something decent gets on his hammer, he might be there ready to pound Stay Inside. So I'm going 5 from 1.
Koch and Soda?
Yeah, I'm in that camp too. I think because of the map and the draw, if the field doesn't fall away too much, then Profiteer is probably going to be favourite. And if that's the case, I'll certainly be on Stay Inside because I think he's the better 2-year-old. He's got better figures with me, and I prefer his racing style. I think he is the one that can settle and ping rather than Profiteer, who looks like he goes a bit keen. It's going to be harder to get him to settle.
Rob Scurry, if you could buy one, which one would you buy? They're all the same price.
It's either Uncle Chris's horse, Home Affairs, or Stay Inside. Stay Inside certainly has a swagger. He doesn't mind getting the old boy out on race day, like a lot of good sires have in the past. And he's got a real presence about him.
So no love at all, boys, for Anamoy.
No, I was just getting to that definite bet for me at $15 plus. I think there's nothing wrong at all with that Blue Diamond form. I've got Stay Inside favourite in my market, but from Profiteer, but I've got Animo a very close third, around half the price it is in the market, and I'll be on it for sure.
Yeah, it's two genuine big figures it's run now, out of four starts. So
I think that Blue Diamond was a good race.
And not suited badly in it.
Yeah. So at the price I'm definitely going to be on.
Okay, race number 3, the fillies version. Mark Sheen, are we still with the fillies? We were with the fillies. We staying there?
The fillies are not much chop. No, I don't think.
Sorry,
I think 4 moves ahead. 4 moves ahead is the best filly. No, we were with the Colts last week, Dicko. You're going over Kentucky Fried, mate.
I'm a McChicken man. Waller's the colonel, man. I'm a bit fizzy off it.
Look, I've got Pretty Woman, Glistening and Chill in the Black Opal as well. So this field could change a little bit. Look, I don't think there's any well beaters in this race. For that reason, I'm going at Vianello. I know she has been beaten in the last 3 starts, but she gets to 1,200 here, and I think that's probably a distance that she's been looking for and drawn well. And I've got a big watch on the bottom one here, Stard, or how, I don't know how you pronounce it, but it's really impressed me at the trials. Looks like 1,200 first up will really suit it.
Cochin?
Yeah, this is pretty open, and it could change complexion if Pretty Woman goes to her home track on Sunday in the Black Opal, because she'll be up on the speed for sure. Not super confident about this race. One thing I will say is I couldn't take 440 Swift Witness in a fit. I don't know how it's favourite, but I mean, well, I do have a bit of a slow on all that Queensland 2-year-old form. Maybe that's just my prejudice, but I couldn't have her favourite. The one I've come up with at a price, but not for sheep stations, is Joyous Legend, who won an open age maiden on a wet track at Gosford on debut, and looks to me like the step up to 1,200 would suit, and it's around $8. So I could entertain her at the price. Big watch on that first starter. It is the sort of race a first starter could win, because I don't think the race are up to much. And Testimonial's looking for 1,200, but also not sure how good she is. So if at this stage, if I was to back anything, it'd be Joyous Legend.
I reckon that'd be a big watch from the yard for Rob, Joyous Legend. She trialled at the official trials and looked very light. So maybe she's strengthened up since then. So maybe Rob will give us a leg up there prior to the race number 3, how she's progressed from that early season trial when I saw her.
I was going to say your Vianello looks like a bit of a wetty type, so I'm looking to find some fresh blood here, and there's no one riding better than Tommy Berry. So if this Starred thing looks even half decent, I'll probably all over it. But yeah, I'll just try and just pick him out of the yard and forget their names and go from there.
Race 5, 1,000-metre dash, the Challenge Stakes, Group 2, Nature Strips back, favourite. Can it be beaten here? Cochin Soda.
He can always be beaten, can't he? There was a fair bit of chat on Twitter, sort of giving you a lot of credit for your theory coming to play on last start. And I think you zigged when you should have zagged. Standard. But that's just my back of the envelope. About one time in 3, he puts in a run that makes him unbeatable in most sprints in Australia. So if you get $3, then you should bet, and if he's under $3, you shouldn't. That's about the science behind it. It's not the most sophisticated theory of all time, but I've done my prices and I've got him at $1.70, but I wouldn't take evens. No way. It's just not a betting proposition. I mean, you say there's 2 of him, there's about 3 of them. There's 3 or so distinct levels of performance you can put in. Sometimes he doesn't get to the 400. He's a very difficult horse to be confident about backing. In terms of what could beat him, maybe Written Beauty, but she's got to take a big step up to do so. I'd probably just lay Nature Strip would be my only play.
Mark?
Yeah, it's an awkward draw for him too, isn't it? With pace underneath, depends how he jumps out. He might have to do a bit of work. Yeah, I'm a bit the same. I don't want to really take the race on, but if I was doing anything in it, I'd probably lay it myself if I can lay it around 170, something like that. Probably piss in now.
The only one I could possibly back would be Written Beauty. She thinks she can improve a lot from the yard, and she's about the only one on the way up, and there seems to be a lot of pace here. And, maybe she can have it run to suit and pull something out. But, yeah, probably no bet race.
Race 7, the Group 1 for the 3-year-olds over the male, Randwick Guineas. Will Agon just be too good here, Mark Sheen?
Well, look, the thing about him is that he's never backed up 2 weeks from his last run. He's going to get a firm track on Saturday, so a few things against him. If you take that run the other day, he's definitely better than the locals. But, a few things he hasn't done before he has to do. So if you take that last run, he probably wins. But again, I don't want to take the short odds to find out. I thought Mo'unga was pretty brave in Melbourne. Last time I saw him in Sydney, he looked very light, and at the end of his campaign before he went down for the Caulfield Guineas, I'd be interested to have a look at him in the yard and see if he's progressed. They put the blinkers on. He's got a soft draw here. So I'm probably going to attack him on an each-way basis, actually.
On my Mo'unga, I mark that as a big run, and that form is strong enough, I think. It's good Victorian form for 3-year-olds. And like you're saying, the locals aren't much chop.
What do you think of him as a type, Mo'unga? I didn't think much of him as a spring 3-year-old when Chris had him.
I can't remember.
Well, that's the thing. He was very light here last time in, so that's the thing. I want to look at him in the yard and see if he's got a lot stronger.
Yeah, I don't think he has. But we'll find out on Saturday for you two. Koch and Soda?
Yeah, well, it's sounding like an echo chamber in here. Mo'unga's the one I want to back. Agon was very impressive against what's proving to be a pretty average bunch of 3-year-olds in Sydney. He's certainly better than them. But I wanted to go away from that Hobartville form line personally, and I came up with Mo'unga, second up to the mile, blinkers on. And in some years there's a bit of a gulf in class between the Sydney and Melbourne 3-year-olds, but I don't think that's the case this year at all. I think they're pretty even light, and I don't think Mo'unga's form is being from Melbourne is. I don't think that's a negative this year at all. I think he's right in this race, and I think he's too far away from Egon in the early betting. And the other one I want to back is a horse who was better than I thought she was.
Harmony Rose.
Harmony Rose, yes. We were very keen on that Brookspire in that midweek race at Kensington, and while Brookspire probably wasn't given every chance, this thing just dominated that race. That was a great win. She's probably oaks bound, I imagine, but she is the one on the up, and at double figure odds, I certainly won't be losing on her.
Do you think there's something in the Victorian form at the moment, because they're coming off like good 3s and good 4s and like good even fast tracks versus some of the softer form?
Possible. There's been a few wet tracks in Sydney. It hasn't been like, last winter or anything, though. There's been a mix of tracks in Sydney. There could be something in it, I don't know.
We're going to finish in race 8, 1,300 metre Group 1 weight for age. Chris Waller's half tipped us, Madame Rouge here, boys. Mark Sheen, can it win?
No, not for me. Not for me. No. She was a bit unlucky the other day, but that was subpoenaed beat her, and she's ideal running up their clacker there at the death. So no, I haven't got them. I haven't got her close enough. I've got her about 6 or 7 lengths off actually, which means it's a moral. Look, I could only back Bivouac or Masked Crusader. I'm a victim for Masked Crusader. I know he's not in that well at the weights here with the set weights, with the weight for age, but and I know he didn't beat much the other day, but I did like the way he knuckled down when he got into him. And from a good draw here, whereas Bivouac's drawn a little bit wider, it might have to go back and find some cover with a bit of pace underneath. So I'm going with Masked Crusader from Bivouac.
Yep. Not a betting race for me at the current prices. I'd want to be on Bivouac if anything, but I'd want $3 plus. I mean, he's in as short as 240 in places. I'd just sit and watch at that sort of price range. Masked Crusader, yeah, he's $6, and he's got 53.5 in a handicap to level weights with Bivouac. 59 is a big negative, but he's certainly got the upside, and he does appear to have that extra level in him. I wouldn't be at all surprised if he measure up. I don't think $6 is a massive price to find out. And I'm not penning Sabatiano. She had an absolute picnic in front the other day. So seemingly flattered, but she does look like getting a good run again in this. So I wouldn't rule her out, but 440, 460, that's no spoil. I think they've got this early market fairly right, but if there's a drift on Bivouac for some reason and it's not yard driven, and I'll speak to Rob about that, if he got out to better than 3, I'd probably back him.
Rob Scurry, any horses here that you thought might show a stack of improvement in the parade this time?
Look, there's a few first uppers. Masked Crusader was much better first up when we actually backed him when he was first up. Query is wet to dry. We're on Madame Rouge first up. She could run a race here.
She's a panther though. Like she's always walking.
Yeah, there's a lot of love Summer Doubts first up for a while. She turned herself into a weight for age horse somehow when she was last running around. And Dawn Passage is probably a smoky as well. We haven't maybe seen the best of him, but maybe he's a bit better on a slightly softer track. So I just play it as it comes. Looks a great race, but whether it's a betting race, not sure.
Boys, it's a huge card of racing on Saturday at Randwick. It's a great card. What's your best and what's your value? We'll start with you, Mark Sheen.
Stay inside. If it gets beat, I will be doing my money. That's that is going to be my day. And I thought Mwanga had a chance each way. Mars Crusade, if you get on each way, I thought in the last She's Ideal had some chance, but I think Stay Inside's the best for me.
Cochin?
Yeah, I'm going to be betting around two favourites, they being Profiteer and Oregon. So I'll be backing Stay Inside and Anamoe in the 2-year-old, and I'll be backing Mwanga and Harmony Rose in the Guineas.
Rob, anything you want to throw out, or just wait to mailbag.com.au and get your Mounting Yard mail, which you've been flying at?
Going all right. Going well on the 2-year-olds. Really looking forward to having a look at Stay Inside. And my mate Peltzer, I think, made a big call about him. You never know. He could turn it around. He's going for 6 in a row at Randwick, and it'll be $10. How can that not be a bet?
All right, guys, thank you very much. That's been Victims of the Punt, powered by puntingform.com.au, Australia's best database. Head to the mailbag.com.au, get Rob Scurry's Mounting Yard mail, get a race-by-race prices, betting advice, everything in between from Mark Roden, mailbag.com.au. Thanks for watching. Enjoy your weekend.